And we're live here on Facebook. Like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and like to welcome my buddy Rich to the show. Rich, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mike, and also welcome the folks watching us over on the YouTube.
Yeah, big
Um,
shout out to the
yeah,
YouTube fans.
yeah. No matter where you're watching or listening to us, make sure to give us a subscribe, if you're on Facebook here with us live, leave us a comment, and we'll make sure to read it on air
You
as
can
well.
comment on YouTube too. If you comment
Yeah.
on YouTube, I'll try to start reading those. But um, so, Rich, how's your week going? You ready for the big day tomorrow?
I am first Cubs game in probably 3, maybe even 4 years. So I think the last time I went to a game was like 2018.
Did, yeah, man, that's
It was
crazy.
that long ago. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I
So
mean, the last
we're
time I went to a game was with you.
yeah, and I think that was 2018 actually.
Yeah, so that's the last time
So
I've
yeah,
been to a game too. But we we got the Cubs scheduled for next year. Maybe we'll talk about that in the changes with the MLB scheduling. Let's talk. We'll kind of
yeah.
we'll put that on the burner. We're going to talk about that, and then we'll talk about some more baseball in our quick hits as well. Rich, what else we got this week?
Mike will be talking fantasy football this week in
Oh
our
yeah.
NFL preview, as well as Chicago Cubs baseball in the NASCAR corner. Uh, but Mike, so my week I was just trying to make it to tonight because I've been looking forward to talking fantasy football, as well as the Cubs game that we already talked about. How was your week, Mike?
It was fun. It's been a little weird week at work. Uh, some illness going on, some stuff like that. So it's just been, um, I've been busy doing new things. So
Good,
that's always fun to do, but it also there's some stress that goes along with it. Plus,
good
there's
deal. It,
other stress going on at work, which always stress. Always has some stress, but you know what? They're treating me fairly, and it's been nothing but good times.
but you got something fun planned for tomorrow too, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, we're going on a motorcycle ride up to New Ulm to go to Happy Joe's, which that's the closest Happy Joe's to us. So
Nice.
we won't be having Happy Joe's while we're in the Quad Cities.
Hmm.
So,
All right.
um,
Plenty of other places to enjoy in the Quad Cities, though, that
oh
you
yeah,
don't have up in Esterville, though.
yeah, that's
All right,
true.
Mike. So let's go ahead and get this started, Mike. So what do we got to do?
We gotta roll the intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Okay, Rich. This week we had a poll question. We started our Jock Jams stadium songs randomness,
Yeah,
stuff that you're going to hear in stadiums during a game.
that's
Not
right.
necessarily songs about sports, but songs you're going to listen to while at the game, or they will play. This last week, we did Boston's favorite, Sweet Caroline, Lazy Mary, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' favorite, Tequila.
All right. Yeah. Lazy Mary, I guess gets played at New York Mets games at City Field, and was nominated to be added to the poll by an old friend, Adam Heath, who's a diehard Mets fan.
By the way, speaking of which, he got to go see a band that I would have loved to have seen this last week. Shout out to him for
Mhm.
sharing it, getting to see The Head and the Heart. I wish I could have seen it, but hope you enjoyed that, Matt. I know you'll check out the show. You always do. So that's your shout out of the week. This week's winners, by the way, he didn't even vote for his own song.
Really? Okay. Adam didn't vote for Lazy Mary.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So I voted for Sweet Caroline.
Apparently, I have
I
to vote as the podcast in order to look at.
to be able to look at who voted for
Oh,
what.
there we go. Yeah, now I can look. Okay, yeah. So you voted for Sweet Caroline, as did I, as did 84% of the votes. 11 people voted.
Nice.
No, I'm not voting for it. I'm just looking at it. And 2 people voted for Tequila. So 11-2 in favor of Sweet Caroline. 11-0 votes for Lazy Mary.
All right. All right. So Mike, this week we're gonna go with "Hang On Sloopy," which is played across the Ohio stadiums. It was played when Amy and I went to see an Indians game up at Progressive Field, but it's also done, I think, at the University of Ohio as well. And then our second song, YMCA, which kind of has a love-hate relationship. You mean you either love the song when it's getting played because you're getting it gets you out of your feet and you're doing the motions, or it's like, why are they playing this? So we'll see.
Yeah, and I'll let you know my opinions on it next week. So this
That's,
week,
that's right.
look for that to go live today, tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, I'll schedule it for tomorrow at noon.
Okay, Rich, you don't. I mean, if you schedule it tonight, you don't have to worry about tomorrow. You can sleep on the drive. I mean, you can sleep on the bus.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll get up there tomorrow. Don't worry. Either way.
Okay.
So, Mike, do you see what's coming up next?
Is it a left turn?
It is a left turn, Mike. And what's after that?
It's another left turn because we don't have right turns this week because we're heading into the NASCAR corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs, either online on their eBay store or in person at 5th Avenue, Moline. That is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Rich, last week we were at the Go Bowling at the Glen. You picked Tyler Reddick. He did quite well with a 7th place. However, for the 19th time this year, Chase Elliott beat your driver.
Yeah, I didn't even. I have a slim chance that I can get in the double digits if my pick for Daytona can win on Sunday night. But Daytona's a hard one to predict, but we'll get into that next. Your race winner was Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a little bit of discussion amongst the two Hendrick drivers because Larson bumped Elliott out of the way to get into the lead, and he never gave it up after that.
Yeah,
but that's common in road courses, though.
It's one of those things that everybody in the conversation and in the interviews said all the right things. But man, I'm amazed that they were able to keep a level head on themselves.
Mm-hmm. Makes you wonder what the discussions were behind closed doors without a camera on them, or if there were discussions internally in the Hendricks camp leading up to going down the Daytona for the final race this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mess, and it's gonna be fun to watch. We'll see what happens at Daytona this weekend. Speaking of which, we're gonna go into the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. So, Rich,
yeah,
it's a Daytona race. It's pack racing. It is craziness beyond craziness, and the winner is hardly predictable.
Yeah, Daytona really is hard to predict, as you had a rookie on Austin Cindric win the Daytona 500 earlier in the year,
yep.
And he's kind of had mixed results the rest of the year. He's done pretty well in the road courses, but the rest of the races, he's struggling to get into the top 15 or crack the top 10 at least.
Yeah. So, folks, you never know what's going to happen. You got to keep your nose clean, stay out of the big one. The best strategies I've always seen. There's two strategies that always work at Daytona.
Get out front or hang out in the back?
Hang out all the way in the front or hang out all the way in the back. Never be in the middle. Now, somebody's got to be in the middle. Just don't let it be you. So,
very true. So, Mike, who are you going with?
I'm going with a guy that has to win. He doesn't have to win. He has a cut now. Oh, we should actually talk about that. We should explain this before we. So this is the last race of the regular season.
It is.
We did have a driver who had a spot in the playoffs drop out of the playoffs for health reasons. Kurt Busch, his recovery from concussions is not going well. He's feeling better, but he's not ready to get in the car yet. And because of that, he is giving up his playoff shot. Because if he can't make the first race of the playoffs, it's kind of a combination between his medical waiver is being taken away and the fact that he doesn't know how much he'll be able to help his team and whether or not he'll be good enough to make the races. And they don't want to rush him. With those two medical waivers being withdrawn, with the medical waiver has been withdrawn, he is not going to race in the playoffs. That means that right now both Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. are above the cut line. If either one of them wins the race,
they're in.
If somebody who currently has a wins the race, they're both in. If somebody who is new wins a race, it depends on who has more points on who's going to get into the playoffs. With that being
or an even more likely scenario, a part-time driver wins the race, meaning that even though he wins the race, he's not eligible for playoffs because he was not a full-time participant in the Cup Series.
Yes, that's the third. That's the other one of the other options, and that in that case, they get in. They both get in. So, with that being said, Rich, I am taking Martin Truex Jr. He basically feels like for him, he has to win the race.
All right. I'm having Martin in my fantasy lineup because I'm hoping that because I think he's going to be racing for stage points. Racing for stage points, even though he has a terrible track record at the super speedways. So, Mike, I'm going to go with the other guy that's on the bubble for making the playoffs, being Ryan Blaney. So, if another guy, because I know he's going to be chasing stage points, and he's got a little bit more of a he's got more of a cushion than Truex does. And Blaney also won this race last year, so I'm feeling good. So I'm going to go with Blaney.
Yeah, okay. Let's.
So the other news to come out of the NASCAR, actually just today, Eric Almirola announced that he would not be retiring and instead signs a multi-year deal to stay with Stewart-Haas.
Yeah.
So he's going to stay in the number 10 and drive and have Smithfield Foods be his primary sponsor as well.
Good on him. I'm good with that. I like it.
Yeah, so that kind of creates one more car that Kyle Busch couldn't move to if he doesn't get a deal done with Joe Gibbs at the end of the year, as there's kind of some uncertainty on who's going to drive the number 18 for him next year, as kind of his contract's kind of been in limbo ever since M&M Mars announced that they were going to pull out their sponsorship.
Yeah, that gives. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That him having that sponsor had helped him for years. We'll see where it goes from here. So,
all right.
Rich,
so that is. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You ready to make an exit?
I am ready to come out of the pits and get back on the track. So that was the NASCAR Corner. presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Check them out on Fifth Avenue in Moline or on their eBay store.
Okay.
So Mike, we're going to keep taking left turns, but we're going to do it on the baseball diamond.
Yeah.
So from show to show, because we did not count tonight's game, which is currently being played, it's currently 2-2, Mike. So they went 3-4 from show to show, 54-71 overall, in third place somehow because the rest of the division is just as bad, making them 18 back in the division and 13 and a half back on the wild card. They have still not been eliminated.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we both said that they'd win 4 games, so we got pretty close.
And if they win tonight's game, that technically would have counted as or did we count?
We did not factor in tonight's game because we knew that we would be recording tonight.
Yep, that's fine.
So still a pretty good week considering that they had to play the Cardinals and the Brewers, division rivals.
Yep, I'm totally happy with it. And speaking of which, they have 2 games against the Brewers this week and 3 games against the Blue Jays.
Yes,
5
on
games,
the
Rich.
road.
How many of those?
5 games.
How many of those are you going to give them?
I'm going to give them 2 games.
You know,
1 game on Saturday because I really want to see them win on Saturday when I'm up there in Milwaukee. And I think they can get into Toronto and get at least 1 win.
Yeah.
So I'll give them 2.
I think they're going to win 3. I'm hoping one of them is gives you an opportunity to sing "Go Cubs Go," even though it's not playing on the because there'll be enough Cubs fans there that you can sing it at the top of your lungs. Do you do that when I'm not there with you?
I'll join in if other people are doing it. I'm not going to be the one that starts it.
Well, I'll call Amy and tell her if they win, but you have to start it. Rich will sing with you, I promise. Anyway, so yeah, it's exciting. They're doing a lot better these last few weeks than I think a lot of people think they would. Even though we gave them 4 wins and they only got 3, honestly, I said 4 wins because I was hoping that they could do that. I didn't really expect it, and I'm surprised they got 3 even. They are not a good team this year. So this week, we also had some great news coming out. We are having, they announced the Cubs Hall of Fame inductees. And Rich, could you think of a better person than Pat Hughes to be inducted this year?
Yeah, not at all. It was kind of funny when I heard about the news here because I didn't, because I was listening to the ball game and we must have missed the part where they were having Pat read his own announcement that he was being inducted into this Hall of Fame, because the way that they were talking as far as being thanking the Cubs organization and all the freedom that the new ownership group gives them and all the years he's been in the game, it almost sounded like Pat was retiring.
Yeah,
that was the announcement that got made on the air. But through some internet searching and looking into it, it was and they made an announcement of congratulations again, Pat, for joining the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the other inductees are Hall of Famer Buck O'Neil, who's a former manager and scout for the Cubs and also a Negro League. One of the pioneering members of the Negro League, so he got in automatically because he was a recent inductee into the Hall of Fame, and also Chicago Cubs outfielder Jose Cardinal.
Yeah, so that'll be a good ceremony. Hopefully, we'll get to see it sometime. But I'm sure they'll put it on YouTube 6 months after it happens, so that people have to pay to watch it on the Marquee Network.
Who knows? So it's
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that ceremony works. I mean, they get a plaque out in the Budweiser bleachers, like in some sort of gallery, a walkway out in the Budweiser bleachers.
Did you hear who else gets their number put out there?
No, I did not.
Played his last game in Wrigley.
Oh, Mr. Albert Pujols
and
Yadi Molina. Yeah, they gave them 5 and 4.
Yep.
Off of the Wrigley Field scoreboard as a memento.
Yep. Yeah, that was really cool. So
yeah, a classy move, if anything. But for Cubs fans, we've almost been waiting for the days when those two would
and
leave because they always played their best games against the Cubs.
and they didn't disappoint this week. They played some of their best
No,
games this week that we've seen them. So, it been a
are
great.
you even as a not as even as a Cardinals hater, are you rooting for Albert Pujols to get the 700 home runs
Yeah, I hope.
before the season ends?
I hope so. He's only what, like 5?
I think it's 6 or 7. I think he's on 643 or 644 right now, which is doable even having even if he functions as a pinch hitter or as the DH a couple times a week. But he said whether he's at 699 or he makes it over 700,
He's at
he's calling it a career.
693 as of right now.
Okay,
I
so he
I
hasn't.
definitely want him to get at least 4. That puts him past Alex Rodriguez.
Okay,
I just hate Alex Rodriguez.
all right, but he has confirmed to put any rumors to bed that he would come back for next year just to get number 700. He's not going to do it. And I don't think he necessarily needs it. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, in all honesty, he 100% is a like. I love him for this and this only. He makes a great T-shirt for Cubs fans to say Cardinal fans love it in the Pujols.
Yeah,
But
I went the one I like is Pujols mows my lawn.
Yeah. But either way, these guys, they're great, and he deserves. If I had a vote, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I think he will. No question about it. Yadi Molina will make it into the Hall of Fame too. I don't know if it'll be on first ballot, but he'll make it. He's great, a pretty good hitter for a catcher, and his defensive, all the Gold Gloves.
Yeah.
In his career, barely make him a slam dunk Hall of Fame candidate as well.
The good news is the Cubs don't have to see him in Wrigley ever again.
That is right.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. So the other news to kind of come out of the MLB is they announced the 2023 schedule, which will be the first time that all the MLB teams will play each other during the course of the year.
Right.
As they've announced more of a balanced schedule is what they're calling it. And so they're going to take away some division games.
Yep.
And every other year, you will face the American League equivalent of that team at the home. So
Yep.
1 year you get them one year you play them on the road, and then the next year you get a home series with them, either being a 3 or a 4 game series.
Yep.
Which means we can meet up and go up to Milwaukee, not Milwaukee, Minnesota.
Yeah.
This year.
Yep. And that'll be nice. I'm excited for that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can make that happen. As that'll also be your birthday weekend.
It's the week before my birthday, but yes.
Oh, the week before. Okay, the way you made it sound is that it was your birthday weekend.
No, my birthday's May 20th, which is 7 days afterwards. But
gotcha.
Yeah, it's a week after my birthday. Or it's a week before my birthday. Sorry, a week before my birthday. So I hope that we get to go, but we'll see.
Yep, a lot of things could change between now and that weekend in May. So anything else from the world of baseball before we head into fantasy football and talking the NFL?
No, I don't think so. By the way, one thing they are going to do, they're going to keep their what they call natural rivals.
So so you do get the Cubs Sox games.
You get 4 Cubs Sox games a year. 2 in Wrigley, 2 in guaranteed rate, I think is what they're calling it now.
I don't know. It's probably going to change in a couple of years anyway.
Yeah, it'll
But
change
yeah,
in the off season. But whatever the newest name of the of Comiskey Park is.
gotcha. All right, so I guess I like that. That
So
doesn't turn into a home and away,
what they're
a home and away.
so far, your natural rivals are the Mets and the Yankees,
Yep, that makes sense.
the Cubs and the Sox,
Yeah,
Dodgers, Angels,
yeah,
San Francisco, Oakland,
yeah. It's like until Oakland moves to Vegas or Portland or Nashville, but well, yeah, I can see that one.
whatever.
Both in the Bay Area.
The two teams from Ohio.
Yep, Guardians and the Reds. Yeah, I can see that.
This one seems a little odd to me.
Okay, go ahead.
Miami Marlins,
Yes,
Tampa Bay.
they're both in Florida.
They are both in Florida, but they're like 5 hours, or they're like 5 hours away from each other. Washington, Baltimore.
Yep, right on the Beltway.
Yep, that one makes sense. Again, another one that's stretching a little bit, but St. Louis, Kansas City.
It's the Battle of Missouri.
This one is going to be the one. Minnesota,
Hmm.
Milwaukee.
They're both around the same area. Getting back to the Cardinals Royals, they did play in a World Series, in an interstate
Yep.
World Series. So it is the battle of I don't remember the
Missouri,
interstate
but yeah.
that connects those two cities. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Atlanta, Boston. That one only makes sense because the Braves were originally the Boston Braves.
yeah,
That's the only way that one makes sense. Only way.
yeah. I don't see why they would need to schedule to make sure that there's a home and away every year for those
Yeah.
two teams.
I feel like Boston's closest thing to a natural rival would be the Yankees, but whatever. They play them enough. Pittsburgh.
Hmm.
Who do you think? Who do you think Pittsburgh has?
Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
they're close.
the
Close, I guess?
Philadelphia Phillies.
It's the Blue Jays. I'm starting to remember these because I read
Yes.
the article.
The Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies don't make sense. Wouldn't I mean
You're getting a rematch of the World Series that they
I
battled
suppose
against.
I guess.
That's really the only connection that I can think of for those two teams.
Arizona
Mhm.
and the Texas Rangers.
I feel that one was almost a schedule generated thing.
I
They're
guess
both out. They're both in the Southwest.
the Rockies and the Houston Astros.
No, I'm not seeing that one either.
And finally, San Diego.
And
The Mariners?
yeah, that's a bit of a stretch too. But the Mariners really don't have a natural rival
They don't.
because they're all the way up in the Pacific Northwest.
But
They're
these
way
are
up
what they're
there.
calling natural rivals. The Yankees, Mets, the Cubs, Sox, the Dodgers and Angels, Oakland and San Francisco, those ones all make sense. I can even give you the Battle of the Missouri, and the Battle of the Beltway.
Battle of Florida and the Florida.
The Florida one, but the bottom, the last four, I would even say the last six don't really make sense.
No. No, they don't.
The Boston Braves versus the Boston Red Sox, I suppose, makes sense, but they're in Atlanta now. They're
Yeah.
I guess they're just trying to make something. They figured
Well,
you had all of these already set ones. You had those four that make sense.
you got to do something.
three-
You got to do something to bring in the ratings to say we got to win these games. These are our rivals.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But each of those teams you're going to see play each other 4 times next year. 2 home, 2 away for each. 2 home, 2 away for each team. So.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be the Battle of Texas until the Astros got moved to the American League West as well. And they lost that one.
That's part of the problem. It's the fact that they're trying to give each league their own position, their own spot, and so you have to have representatives from each league, because Toronto Detroit makes way more sense than Toronto, was it Philly or Pittsburgh?
Philadelphia.
Yeah. By the way, Detroit would make sense. Actually, Detroit and either the whole Ohio ones would make sense too.
Yeah, Detroit and Cleveland. But they're already in the same division, the same league.
Right. It's the fact that they're trying to shoehorn these into into interleague play. If you didn't do that, so here's what I would do.
Okay.
I would say New York's, Chicago's, LA, the Bay Area. I'll even give you Ohio, Miami,
so Ohio,
Washington,
and Florida, Missouri, and then the Beltway series.
And
everybody else
Missouri
doesn't necessarily have to have that home and away.
Those ones all make sense. I can even give you the M-Town, the Minnesota, and the Milwaukee one. That one you can kind of shoehorn. Atlanta, Boston, you can kind of shoehorn because it's the Boston thing. Sure. But these bottom ones, let's make them actually make sense. If you're going to highlight the natural rivals, it's the Phillies and the Pirates.
Yep.
That one makes sense.
They get that game every year. They're
going to. Detroit, Toronto makes sense. And yes, they are. The problem with Detroit, Toronto, they're not only in the same league, they're in the same division.
Actually, no. They're in opposite divisions. Toronto's in the East, Detroit's in the Central.
Oh, yeah, okay. So that works.
Same thing with the Pittsburgh Philly. They're in opposites.
Yeah. And then
they're in different divisions.
Have the 2 Texas teams play each other. And I think Arizona and Colorado make slightly more sense than Arizona and the Rangers.
See, I was thinking almost Seattle and Colorado.
That one makes sense too. Seattle and Colorado makes sense.
Up.
San Diego, yeah, you're right. Colorado and Seattle, the battle of the pot smokers, I suppose you could call that.
I don't know.
And then then San Diego and Arizona aren't that terrible of natural.
Yeah, but San Diego, Arizona are in the same division.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way you're going to get those types of matchups is if you just blow up the American and National League and just go to MLB and you put everybody, take away the divisions or start moving people in and out of the National and American League so you can get those rivalries.
That is a terrible idea.
Exactly.
I think that is a terrible idea. There is no reason to split the league up into one division. One league and do all that stuff. I totally agree. So, okay, let's move on while we can, as we're only 33 minutes in though, Rich. So we're not doing too bad on time. Okay.
Thanks for the time update.
I know that you get nervous about that, especially when we get long-winded on certain segments you're not planning on. I mean, me getting long-winded on something?
No.
Okay, so this week, our key topic. You ready to dive into this, Rich?
I sure am.
You have been looking forward to this for.
I really have.
For 5 or 6 weeks. When we first both had the realization of, no, we have to start talking about fantasy like next week, or we're gonna have to start talking football next week, or we're gonna be behind the 8 ball. We are finally to our fantasy preview, which leads us into next week when we actually have a football game to pick for next week's games. Next week we have a game
right.
to pick.
We sure do, Mike.
Okay, so this week we are going to talk fantasy. First things first, let's start off with our top 5. Do you want to do the top 5 in each position, or do you want to do what you think your first move should be? Or what some of your strategy stuff?
I'll go with strategies first.
Okay.
See, I've kind of been on the fence. I've been doing mock drafts, and for me, it comes down to, do I draft one of the top wide receivers, or do I draft a running back, which is what I have done in years past. Always gone after a running back first.
Yeah, and
it for me, it kind of depends on where I'm at. If I'm at the back half of the draft, like in that 7-8 range, I might go for a wide receiver. But the thing that's almost got to remember is that you could go in with a strategy of, I'm going to pick this guy first if he's there, but you could have a guy that you never even thought would drop to your spot be there, and that's when you got to know. That's when you got to almost pivot and pull the trigger on somebody that fell to your slot that you weren't expecting to be there.
Yeah, I like that. I don't look at fantasy as I look at the draft. Fantasy draft is completely different than the draft.
Oh yeah, totally.
When we talk about the draft, and this sounds like your strategy, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you sound like you're drafting, which is you go for the best player on the board. You have your key player that you're hoping to get, but you go for the best player on the board.
Yes.
Okay. That's going
to bring me the most value fantasy wise.
Right.
Not necessarily the best player if I were constructing a real life team.
Right.
So I want to get the points.
Right. So and that's not a terrible concept, but, and I said it last year, and it works as a good strategy. I think the number one spot in fantasy to pick up early, to be the first guy to pick it up, because the number one person in this position is head and shoulders above the rest of anybody in any other points getting spot. And that is the tight end. I stand by that argument again, because tight ends, the number one tight end is 10 points above everybody else in the league. Now you might get lucky, and there might be a second guy that's close to that. But 9 times out of 10, there is only one tight end in the league that is going to get you points like a wide receiver. And everybody else is just trying to make sure you get enough to match the guy you're going against. So the number one position you should go after is tight end. After that,
all right,
you can, because the running back, the differential between your number one running back and your number 5 running back, how many points is it on an average week?
Not as big of a gap between the number 1 tight end and the number 2 or 3 tight end.
Yep.
Because by all means, and let's start there, Mike. So Travis who is that one tight end?
The number one tight end. You said it. You said it already, and I agree 100%. Travis Kelce is the guy to pick up.
All right. So I have Kelce as my number 1 guy too. However, I think the gap between 1 and 2 isn't as far away as it once was.
Yeah.
And my number 2 guy, Mark Andrews, out of Baltimore, because Baltimore throws the ball to him. He's going to get you touchdowns.
By the way,
he's going to get you touchdowns, and he might. Then you start to see the gap between fall off.
And let me ask you this, and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now. By the way, if you think Mark Andrews is going to have the year that he had last year, you want to pick him up. He was at 215.3 points overall last year. By the way, it actually holds true to my statement because Travis Kelce, 190. 20-point differential.
Yep.
Almost 30.
I don't know.
By the way, go and then the number 3 guy, according to fantasy points, the number 3 guy, household name in the United States, considered an all-star at the position, played in Iowa. George Kittle.
Okay.
Give me a guess. How many points do you think his total points were last year? He's number 3 on the list.
I'm going to go 125.
Man, you're lowballing him. He was at 143.
Okay.
All the more reason to go after a tight end as early as you can. Those difference in numbers are huge. And the drop-off just gets worse from there. 138
and that's and that's fair. I know the drop-off goes down and down and down.
By the way, Rob Gronkowski, the 5th best, according to, again, I'm not saying he will be, but according to stats last year, he was the fifth best tight end. Tom Brady loves throwing the ball to Gronk, especially near the end zone. 128. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tight ends are
by all means. Yeah. By all means, I respect the strategy. There's stats to back it up. For me, I would almost stream the tight end position and either play the hot hand, and maybe kind of go quantity over quality, and take a chance that the other positions on my rosters can make up maybe for the low point total of an average tight end instead of a great tight end.
Yep.
And the only reason for that is that because if you draft Travis Kelce, for example, you're going to want him to put up wide receiver money. You're going to want him to put up wide receiver points of trying to get 15 to 17 points. So if he puts up a dud and has only 3 points because he didn't get any touchdowns or defenses took him out of the game, you're going to be disappointed with that result.
Yeah.
However, if you're streaming or putting a good tight end and maybe he puts up 7 or 8 points, less than Kelce normally would, you'll take those points and hope that the rest of the roster picks it up.
Yeah,
picks it up to cover that.
That's not a bad strategy. I am still working out the full strategy. I don't have the full strategy set. It's a process. So let's move over to the quarterback position.
Well, I'm not done with tight ends.
Okay.
Goodness.
Yeah.
All right. There is a big drop off after Andrews for me. But I'm looking at Darren Waller and George Kittle, but they have injury concerns. Yeah. Dalton Schultz, I think, would be a good guy to target if you don't want to invest the early draft capital in Kelce or Andrews.
Yep.
And T.J. Hawkinson plays for the Lions, which struggle offensively at times.
Yeah. Zach Ertz is somebody to always keep your eye on, but he's also the guy that always has issues he has injury issues, but you'll have to see. I mean, each player you gotta draft him on your own. Now, pseudo sidewards pick.
Okay.
Because he's labeled as and I wonder if you can put him in that position. Someone in the tight end position that could get you quarterback level numbers.
Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill. He's labeled as a quarterback tight end. I wonder if that means you can play him as a tight end. And if so, do you get his points as a quarterback as well? Or do you have to put him in? Do you have to put him in as a quarterback
you do.
position?
No. You can get his points. So you could pick up Taysom Hill as a late flyer at the end of your draft. And in the odd event, Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton get hurt and the Saints have to go to him, you would get points. You could have the potential to start 3 quarterbacks in your roster with the way the league that we play in together, which has a super flex.
So, but here's the real question. How long do the Saints let Jameis Winston go and have more? At what point is his more interceptions than touchdowns going to hurt him? Before
Let's
they pull him.
Jameis Winston for when we get over to quarterbacks.
So, I would say my number. And again, I don't plan on having to wait and look past 3 tight ends, because my strategy is such that unless the people that are in our draft are watching this and decide that they're going to play the same strategy,
or remember past drafts,
Yep.
when you've gone tight end back to back.
Yep. But if that doesn't happen and I get my top, I will likely get my top 2. But if I have to go past it, I will likely get a top 3. Get to my top 3, and I don't know that I'll go after that. But if I do think about going any further down than my top 3, my number 4 pick this year is going to be Taysom Hill, because I think there's enough questions with other people in the quarterback, with everybody else in the quarterback position for New Orleans, that I think Taysom Hill is actually a decent pickup and somebody that you could end up getting quarterback level numbers out of. So that's how I'll play it.
All right, cool. 2 other guys, at least I think a guy to keep an eye on if you're going to go the streaming option. Pat Freiermuth could be really good for the Steelers.
Yep.
And he didn't have any touchdowns last year, and he doesn't have a good quarterback situation, so a buyer beware out of the tight end group for a guy that's ranked pretty high as a tight end is Kyle Pitts.
Oh, yeah.
Out in Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know if
potential's there. The potential's there. But the fact that in his rookie year he had 0 touchdowns, kind of scares me off. That I don't know if I would want to pick him up. I'll let somebody else have that headache.
My buyer beware, and someone's going to pick him up in our league. Cole Kmet.
I would not. I can see that. I would see that if you were looking at him as a backup tight end. That's how I view Cole Kmet. Not as a starter, but as a backup to where you're only expecting to have to play him 1 week.
Yeah, that would be at best what I would do. Mostly because... But somebody's going to have him picked up and play him most weeks in our league. We have a couple people that are diehards enough that they will do that. But yeah, Zach Ertz would be my third go get him. My if you're looking late in the draft to pick somebody, either Taysom Hill or Zach Ertz would be my late round guys, my sleeper-esques. Zach Ertz has fallen off enough that I think he'll fall down the line, and you'll be able to get him a little later in the draft. So,
all right. So quarterbacks, Mike.
Quarterbacks. That's a great.
Quarterback for me is very deep. Even the guys that I have on kind of like as a buyer beware aren't necessarily guys because I think as long as you're not drafting a quarterback on a losing team, there's value no matter where you want to draft. There's probably more guys there's no way that these people should be rostered in fantasy.
Yeah.
Than there are. So you can make a productive quarterback room. A quarterback room.
Carson Wentz got 190 points last year. Mac Jones got 244, or is projected 244 this year. Like, let's not kid ourselves. The quarterback position is deep. I even think Mitch Trubisky, who I wouldn't pick up, could be a viable candidate as a starting quarterback if he gets to be a starting quarterback. So I agree it's deep. But, Rich, your number 1 pick overall fours.
If I was picking a quarterback number one, no, or in the odd event we were doing a draft style to where everybody has to pick a quarterback and then everybody picks a running back in the next round,
Yep.
I would go with Josh Allen in
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Um,
You can get your rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns.
They've taken.
Great guy.
I am actually going to go with another J name.
Okay.
Josh Herbert.
I like the Justin Herbert
Or
pick
Justin
too.
Herbert, sorry, yeah.
I like Justin Herbert too. I have him ranked number 3. I put Patrick Mahomes on number 2
I have
only because he doesn't most of the time, most weeks he's not going to disappoint, and he's going to get you your 20 points or higher every week.
I really like where LA is at this year. The Chargers have a lot going well for them. Look for him to be one of those guys that he took off last year. He is jumping aboard the rocket ship, and he's going to the moon this year. That's what I think of Herbert. I think they're going to be a great. He's got weapons that he can use. He is going to be someone to look out for. Patrick Mahomes is number 3 for me as well. Is number 3 for me. Where Jared Allen or Jason Allen, Josh Allen. Wow, Josh Allen ends up being number 2 for me. My number 3 is actually going to be Joe Burrow.
All right, I didn't put Joe Burrow into my
4.
top 6 or top 5. I went with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
he's got some injury history, but it's the dual threat. It's the dual threat that he gives you that leads me to give him high enough. In real life, I would not have him in the top 5, but in fantasy, I do.
Here's my problem with putting him in my, and he's in my top 5. He's not in number 4 even though he is my number 5, and here's why. As you get older, you slow down and you stop running as much. You don't want to take those hits. Look at Andrew Luck. The last few games that he played, he was not willing to go out and make those moves to get out of the pocket. He slowed down. He protected himself more. You don't want to take those big hits. Yes, Lamar Jackson is a big boy, and he can take those hits, and he can deliver hits as well as anybody. The problem is those hits are starting to catch up to him. You saw it last year with injury. You will continue to see it with injury. He needs to change his mode, and he needs to be less of a run and look for a hit guy and become a... There's a reason why the pocket passer is the penultimate. It is the pinnacle of NFL quarterbacks.
And that's true as an NFL quarterback. But Mike, in fantasy, what gets you more points? A passing touchdown or a rushing touchdown?
Not being on the injured list gets you more points.
Yes, but
not being on the injured list gets you more points. Period.
But healthy, you would. If you're looking for a quarterback, the dual threat quarterback.
A dual threat quarterback is great.
Look at in quarterback.
But this is
in fantasy.
This is year 5 for Lamar Jackson.
Yes, I believe it is year 5 because he can be franchise tag next year.
You're gonna look at Herbert running more. Mahomes probably doesn't run as much. Probably won't.
He doesn't.
Joe Burrow still has something to prove. He still needs to earn that money. He'll run. Kyler Murray does. He can run, but he won't. Look at your.
Kyler Murray still runs, but they want him to be more of a pocket passer.
Right. They're moving him to more of a pocket passer. Look to your younger quarterbacks who need to make a name for themselves. If you want a dual threat, look lower in the draft. Your dual threats are going to be down there. There are guys that are young that I think are going to have a breakout year. We'll talk about that when we get to that. My number 4
5.
My number 5 is Lamar Jackson.
Okay, who's your 4 then?
My number 4 is I can't believe I'm saying it. Oh wait, no, my number 4 was Joe Burrow. You're right. Yeah. My number 5 is Lamar Jackson.
Number 6 then.
My number 6, I'm actually going to pick Tom Brady.
All right. I got Brady in it. I got Brady, I think, Let's see where I got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I have Brady there. I put in Russell Wilson into my
Okay.
in my 5 spot.
I still
And then
need to
I do
see
have
what
Tom Brady there.
need to see what Tom Brady does in or what Wilson's going to do in Denver. Tom Brady is going to be my number 6 though, because honestly, you know what you get out of him. You've had 22 years to know what you're getting out of him. 22 years. You know that he's going to be, and his goal is to protect himself, so he's going to stay healthy the whole year, most likely. And he's gonna do what he does week in and week out, and make your wide receivers look good. Speaking of wide receivers, let's go there real quick. Rich, number 1 wide receiver. Oh, you want to do? I forgot. You always like to do those.
Yeah, there's still more to talk about on
okay,
QB.
your sleepers. Give me your sleeper. Sleeper quarterback.
This is really going deep in the draft. Like if you're avoiding and building up the rest of your roster, or you're maybe looking to play the quantity over quality. Tua. I think Tua coulds a big word there. Could have a good year. The weapons are there.
So Rich,
the
I
Shanahan
said
principles are there.
I said I was going to give you a name that's going to shock people as someone to pick up later that I think has tools and abilities that are going to be great and has to prove something, and that you can get in the late round. You know who my pick on that is?
Who is it?
Tua Tagovailoa. Same as you, sir. I agree. If you are looking to wait and get somebody late, Tua's your guy. Do it. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Trevor Lawrence could be in that category.
Ooh, yeah.
Derek Carr never disappoints. Matt Ryan's got a rebound.
Yep. So who is your buyer beware?
Man, for me, it's kind of Dak Prescott. He always gets drafted kind of high.
Yep.
But he kind of puts up disappointing numbers. The numbers that he puts up from week to week don't necessarily correlate to where he usually gets drafted.
Yep.
And I think Jalen Hurts is there too.
Yeah. I have 2 that I'm going to give you that I think are buyer bewares. And I actually think one of them is on my do not draft list.
All right, go ahead.
And the one that's on my do not draft list is the last person in the world that you think I haven't made the decision that he's not yet, but he's pretty close. It's the last quarterback in the world you would think would be my do not draft.
I won't spoil it for you. I won't guess and spoil it. So go ahead and.
So before I give you that pick, I'm going to give you my other beware, and it's shared by my father, who is a fan of this person. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers is on my buyer beware list.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of tools. Doesn't have a. He doesn't. Now, he has the skills. He has the abilities that 99%. Like, we've seen him have a very similar situation to what he's going into this year. But he always shows up and does something. So he is definitely not a do not draft, but he is a buyer beware.
Yep. Temper your expectations based on his receiving core.
Yep.
But at the same time, he can cry about, well, you're not giving me weapons. Give me wide receivers. But he's taken questionable wide receivers and turned them into quality players because of how good of a quarterback he is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I can't blame the Packers for necessarily not wanting to invest resources in it.
So I'm contemplating putting him on my do not draft list. You've been waiting for it, folks. Rich knows who I'm going to say.
All right.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. He's got the elbow issue.
We've heard that it's gotten better, but we don't know fully that he's going to be 100% after that elbow, the issues with his elbow. He's got things going on that I think it is not worth actually drafting him right away.
Oh, no, not right away. But if he falls... If he falls low enough.
If you've picked up a kicker before the last round, he would be worth getting. But I
No,
don't.
I don't think you need to draft him that much. But if you draft Matthew Stafford and he's the first quarterback that you draft,
Ooh,
have a backup plan
you
to
you
have two backups that you would be comfortable throwing into the lineup every single week
if
if he has issues.
if you have him as your number one quarterback, if we're talking our league, the league that we're in, you better have at least two other quarterbacks ready to go every week.
Yeah, personally, for my drafting perspective, I'm looking at drafting four quarterbacks,
Yeah,
and I'm probably not going to draft. I'm I'll tell you right now, I'm probably not going to look into getting Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert because they're just not going to. I'm going to build up other positions
yeah.
and I'll stream and pick and choose play matchups
But
with my
again,
quarterback play.
there are tons of mid picks that are going to hit for you. You have
Yep.
you have tons of people in the middle tiers that are going to be great, and quarterbacks put up huge numbers every year. Don't worry about it. You don't need to get a quarterback right away. You can wait. Now let's move on to wide receivers, Rich. And on that wide receiver note, my number one is Cooper Cup.
You know what? I when I originally started making the list, Cooper Cup
Ooh,
was that number one.
you're right, but then
But
you got to take him off because his quarterback.
you got yeah. If Matthew Stafford's not there and you go down to John Wofford, that offense kind of takes a hit. So
Yeah.
I went up to a guy that our newest league member has been talking up, Josh Couture, has been talking up Justin Jefferson.
I love that pick. I love Justin Jefferson as a good
So
pick
I'm
there.
going to go Justin Jefferson, and then number two, that's where I put Jamar Chase, and then I have Cup there. Then I have
Yeah,
Cup in the number three spot.
I think I would put. I think you're right, Jefferson. You've convinced me. Jefferson number one. I'm actually going to go CeeDee Lamb number two. If you
All right.
think if you think that Dak is going to have a good year this year,
Hmm.
then you got to think CD is going to be his number one target, and that's where you got to go. CD Lamb is going to be my number two pick, my number three pick. I might even think about Chase and then Cup number five or number
All
four.
right.
Four.
Yeah. I had Lamb in the top five, but I put Debo Samuel. I don't know if he's going to put up the same rushing and receiving numbers that he did last year,
Yeah.
but he's still a good. You know, he's going to be an integral part of San Francisco's offense
I have a hard time with the San Francisco offense still.
because they're turning to Trey Lance.
You could have a rookie. You could have a breakout rookie year, or you could have a broken rookie year. And those are your two options when it comes to rookie years. And I don't know what he's going to have, and it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
So
I mean he could break out and be a great fantasy starter for you, or you're riding the roller coaster
yeah,
on whether you trust him to throw him, whether you trust the projections that Yahoo's given him,
yep.
or you play it safe and go by the matchups.
Okay, Rich.
So Mike, who are maybe some guys that you're maybe buyer beware?
My first buyer beware, Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs, okay.
He cried his way out of Minneapolis, and he was not thrilled with how Buffalo was going in the middle part of the season last year. And he makes it known. If he's not happy, is he gonna play as hard as he's going as he should? Is he gonna get sat down because of his locker room discussion? I don't know. I don't trust him. I don't trust him to stay positive. He's a buyer beware for me. He is one of those guys that is on the high end of receivers and could have been in a top 10 list for most people. But for me, he's buyer beware.
All right, mine is DK Metcalf.
Oh
Even
yeah.
if Russell Wilson was still in Seattle, I'd
Yeah.
say buyer beware because he had great games, but there were other games where he didn't crack 8 points, and it all comes down to he just didn't haul in the touchdowns.
You're gonna not like my next buyer beware.
All right, who is it?
Uh, and it's the reason I am buyer beware is because I am so cold on this team. We've talked about it a lot of times how hot you are on the team. I'm cold on this team. AJ Brown.
No, I actually have him on my buyer beware, only because I don't know how the Eagles' offense is going to be. Are they going to try and be pass first, or could they go to what got them into the playoffs and turn into more of a running team?
Okay,
that's all. That's what gives me putting AJ Brown.
That is good.
He could be a good wide receiver. He could be the number one target.
Yep.
In that offense, being Jalen Hurts' number one target, or he could turn into some games where he's a decoy because they're running the ball so much and advancing it on the ground that they don't need to go to the air.
Nope, totally agree with that. I think he's buyer beware because I don't trust the team. But yes, what's the team going to do? Are they going to be pass first or are they going to be run first? Sometimes you got to go with what you got to go with the girl that brought you, and that's their running backs. So, yeah, okay. Who is your sleeper pick of the year this year?
You know, my sleepers. I got to look at Rashad Bateman out of Baltimore. I'm going deep. Rashad Bateman in Baltimore. Somebody's got to catch passes besides Mark Andrews in that offense, and Michael Pittman again, because once again, there's really no bona fide number one wide receiver in Indy.
Yeah, I actually think Pittman. I wouldn't pick Pittman because there is no bona fide number one. You don't know if it's going to be a number one by committee, and that hurts you if you're a Pittman guy. My pseudo deep, and again with wide receivers, you have to go deep because there's normally 2, sometimes 3 on your roster, so you're looking at guys. Even Adam Thielen would be considered going deep, but he's going to be somebody that's going to be on rosters. So I think if you're looking at going deep in the rosters, I think I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he's suspended, so you would have to anticipate that you draft with the anticipation that hopefully he can pick up where he left off and be the focal point of that offense.
But again,
when he gets back,
when we talk about our sleepers, we're talking about guys that if they're there while you're filling up your bench, you're not expecting him to start right away. You're picking him up because you know where he's going to be when he comes back.
And that's true. That's true. If you're picking him up with the intention that he's the first wide receiver that's going into your bench spot, DeAndre Hopkins is a good spot because if he wasn't suspended, he'd probably be in the top 10.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like
100%.
that opinion on it.
So when I look at sleepers, I look at guys I'm filling up my bench with. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be my number one wide receiver to fill up my bench with. But I'm probably going to go with running backs in that position. And as we go to running backs, Rich, just so you know, we're at an hour and 8 minutes. We're going to be a little longer, folks. We still got a couple more positions to talk about, as we still need to hit running backs. We'll give you our number one kicker and our number one defense as well, and then we'll give you our don't draft on both of those. Okay, so let's hit our running backs, and we're going to give you the full gamut of the running backs. Number one running back, Christian McCaffrey, right?
No, I actually have Jonathan Taylor out of Indy.
Wow.
Top scoring running back last year.
Yes, but this is why I wouldn't put him as number one. You actually have a good arm on a quarterback in Matt Ryan. He is a good quarterback. He is going to bring that team back to a passing-focused team. And if he does that, yes, Jonathan Taylor is going to be a part of that plan, but Jonathan Taylor will not put up the same numbers, and because of who the quarterback is there, I say go with Christian McCaffrey as number one. Jonathan Taylor, my number two, actually.
All right, my number 2, Austin Eckler out of the Chargers.
That's my number 3.
Good. My number 3, Christian McCaffrey. Only
Okay.
because he's coming off of an injury. He always seems to get hurt,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I fully buy into being. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey's ever had a great quarterback under center when he's been on the team and he's put up great numbers. But I wonder how much of a difference Baker Mayfield is going to make in Carolina. Is it going to be enough to bring Christian McCaffrey back to um, a Pro Bowl running back and a top fantasy performer, or is he going to get hurt midway through the year because the team's depending on him so much?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think early on he's going to be the number one tool on the entire team. He'll be overused early. He'll fall off a little bit in the middle, and then he'll come back at the end of the season. That's what my prediction for him is. As they start to feel out, oh, Baker can do really well for us. Well, now people are going to buy into our passing game, and they're going to cheat on the run, and then they're going to cheat off the run because you know that Baker's going to run the offense, and then you're going to end up Baker's going to come back, and they're going to bring that mix back, and it's going to be a mixed bag instead of
Yeah,
more
and by
focused
all
one
means,
way or
on
the
draft
other.
day, I might go with McCaffrey instead of Eckler.
So my number
Just-
4 is Derrick Henry.
I put Dalvin Cook here.
Okay,
I like the Vikings, Dalvin Cook. I got Derrick Henry rounding out the top 5.
and I actually have Cook rounding out my top 5. Honestly, folks, no surprise there. Those are the top 5. If you have anybody else in your top 5, let us know in the comments. Let us know your number 1 pick in the comments, both in YouTube and in Facebook. Let us know. We want to know.
All
We
right.
want to work with you on that. Okay,
So, Mike, who are some guys that are maybe buyer beware, or kind of like temper your expectations for them if you choose to pick them up?
my number 1 temper expectations / buyer beware is Nick Chubb.
All right. I can get behind that. I have Nick Chubb ranked as number 6, but I'm starting to think that that's maybe a little bit too high. You know the Browns are going to be running the ball early, but with no Deshaun Watson under center, how will they do with Jacoby Brissett or Josh Rosen, or who knows who could be the starting quarterback,
Yeah. So
depending on roster cuts before
rule number
September
1 is,
1st.
like you said, they are going to ride him like a pony at the zoo.
I mean, that's what the Titans are going to do with Derrick Henry too.
But Derrick Henry and Chubbs are not built the same. Chubb is going to get, and Chubb doesn't have the same offensive line, by the way. That's
No, he doesn't. I mean, and that's the thing that kind of gets me with Nick Chubb too. He
And-
might get you the yardage week to week, but will the touchdowns be there?
And will he get you? How many yards will he actually get? And then is he going to make it the full season? That's my big scare with him. He's never been injury prone, but this is the first time that we're going to see him have to carry the whole team pretty much by himself for the first at least half of the season.
Yeah, for the first 12 game until week 13.
Until
He's
week 13.
He's their offense. He's their offense.
He is their offense. I don't like it. I stay away from Nick Chubb. I won't do it. Rich, who is your number 1 buyer beware?
I might still draft the guy, but Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
Guy hasn't been the same since he blew out his Achilles, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I actually am on.
If he can stay healthy, he's projected to get like 22, 23 points a game.
I have him on
But
my do not draft list. I legitimately have him on my do not draft list. I'm not drafting him. I don't trust him. His Achilles injuries tend to fester and stick with you for life almost. I'm not doing it.
All right, another guy, because he burned me last week, and he hasn't been doing too well in the preseason. Antonio Gibson out of Washington.
I don't put any stock into preseason, so I will not. That's not why I wouldn't. I didn't. He wouldn't have been on my. He's not on the top of my draft list, but again, he's not one. to do that. Rich, your sleeper pick for running backs.
Running backs, he's injury prone. He's got a rookie that's projected, if you're looking at mock drafting, that's ranked ahead of him. But he ended out the season really well. Rashad Penny out in Seattle.
Yeah.
I like Penny. Yeah, by all means, I wouldn't draft him to be the second running back on my roster, but I would definitely draft him to be a backup or go into that flex spot.
I am going to pick someone who a lot of people are going to think is going to be... Melvin Gordon. Playing in Denver when Russell Wilson was at his best.
Mm-hmm.
He had a running back that helped him out. Melvin Gordon's going to be that running back.
The only thing that kind of deters me away from Melvin Gordon is that rookie Javi Williams is ahead of him on the depth chart. But at the same time, Denver has also, I've read reports coming out of Denver that it's going to kind of be a running back A and running back 1A, 1B type of situation. So you could still get some good numbers out of Melvin Gordon. From week to week. And
again, I like the Javonte Williams. I like him. I think rookie running backs tend to do quite well, but
he's a second-year running back.
Is he? I thought he was.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. He was a 2021 first-round pick or second-round pick. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I still think Melvin Gordon has a lot to offer. Look for him to be.
He does.
And again, when I talk sleeper picks, I'm not talking about guys you're expecting to be ones or twos. I'm talking about guys that are going to be on your bench that you bring in for a game or two or three, or if you have an injury. That's why I bring in Melvin Gordon, by the way.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Mike, because we're running short on time, you got to pick a kicker. You're only going to pick one of these kickers in the draft. If you're the first guy if you're looking, the draft comes around like the last two rounds.
There's only one kicker you talk about when you're talking about being the first guy to pick a kicker, right?
I think there's a second guy.
You think there is a second guy besides Justin Tucker to pick as your kicker? You're picking in the fourth round because you're crazy.
No, not in the fourth round.
I'm just saying,
if I'm the first person,
if you're the crazy person that's actually drafting a kicker early in the rounds, like in actual rounds.
The other guy that I like as a kicker, Evan McPherson out of Cincinnati. If Cincinnati plays like they did last year, they're not afraid to turn around and just like Baltimore is say, all right, yep, we're satisfied kicking a field goal. And Evan McPherson can kick those long 50-yard field goals.
I like the Evan McPherson pick. I still think Justin Tucker he's got that cannon for a leg. There is no reason why I see no reason why he isn't the number one pick in every league. But
yeah.
Number two,
kickers,
100% would be McPherson.
Yeah, with the kicker, stream that position. Stream it.
In fantasy, it is kicker by committee and who's hot. Those are the only things that matter.
Yep. Even if you drafted Justin Tucker, if the points aren't there after a couple weeks, cut bait and get somebody else that's putting up more consistent numbers.
100%. Okay, finally, you have to have a defense.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. There's only one defense. My number one defense is huge. I think the number one defense has got to be Buffalo, right?
Yeah, I like Buffalo, but at the same time, I'm looking at defense, much like a kicker, is one thing that you stream.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at when I'm drafting, because in our league, you only get 45 transactions.
Yep.
45 ads.
Which is
So
dumb.
for a defense, yeah, I don't like it either. I don't like it either. Nick, change that. Up that. Up that number or get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
But get rid of it, but we're not the commissioner and Nick's made no indication that he wants to give it up. So it's going to be there. So I would almost want to look at who is the early schedule. And I would look at San Francisco.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
San Francisco is a pretty good defense, and they get to open the season against the Bears.
Yeah, I like that. And by that same logic, Indianapolis.
Baltimore would be a good defense to choose, but yeah, the Bills would be a good Bills would be a good pick if you're looking to draft a defense, and you're going to ride or die with them until you get a bye week.
Yep.
Until you're forced to make a move to get a bye week, to either drop them and pick up somebody else, or pick up a backup defense to play that 1 week and then turn around and drop the team that you added.
Okay.
But one defense, one kicker in your draft, fill out the rest of your roster.
By the way,
people that can score your points.
If you're that guy that picks up a kicker before the third to last round, we all hate you. I'm kidding, but we all hate you. You don't need.
You're scratching your head if you're picking a kicker in your fourth to last round.
Yeah.
You want to look at getting a kicker maybe in the third or the second, or if the guys that you're looking to get to fill out that last 2 draft spots are, if you know, all right, nobody's going to pick up this guy, let's get the best kicker. But
by the way, my biggest advice in the draft, if kickers start to go off the board, the temptation is to jump on board and try to get a kicker. I see it in a lot of leagues where there's a run on kickers in like the third to last round. Guess what? If you don't even draft a kicker, there are still decent kickers in the league that you can pick up. There are likely a top 10, unless you are in a really big league, there is a top 10 kicker available for you to pick up, even if you don't draft one. Because nobody is picking up 2 kickers. And if you are, go home. Don't even talk to me. Am I right?
Yeah. I don't see a reason why you would pick up 2 defenses and 2 kickers.
Yeah,
never.
Fill out
your roster.
But either way,
more depth when you can add more depth at other positions.
Your top 10 kickers are all close enough that it doesn't really matter. Your defenses, yeah, as long as you're in the top 10, in the top 15, you're all right. So, okay, Rich, we'll save the quick hits for next week.
Yep.
Because we are late. Rich, this was a great show. Thank you for all the insights that you bring. I love Rich's favorite thing about sports. He loves talking sports, but his mind is great at fantasy sports. He loves looking into guys, figuring out stats. And Rich, you do a great job of it. Thank you for what you bring to the table on that. Thank you for that. We have a shout out for a reaction this week. Solomon Stroop liked the video already. Thank you, Solomon, for joining in on the fun. We will see you next week. Okay, Rich, if they are watching here on Facebook and they want to listen to us in the car, what should they do?
Look us up wherever you find all of your other podcasts. Subscribe to us so you know when new episodes get posted, and make sure to give us a like and a comment, as that'll help the algorithm.
Yeah, help us out.
Mike, if they don't if they listen to us in podcast land, but they may want to interact with us live or see the video feed of our show, where can they find us?
Well, you got 2 options if you want to watch the video feed. The first, if you want to interact with us live, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ballsandsticks. And if you want to watch us without watching us on Facebook, check us out on YouTube and just look up Balls and Sticks, the podcast. With that, Rich, what should I do tonight?
Mike, go ahead and roll that outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.